Okay, we're live. I'm really rolling the dice on this one because the last live video was terrible. My internet reception was cutting in and out. I was out on my back porch and having all kinds of issues. I'm inside now, still a little bit further away from my router. So again, we're rolling the dice here and hopefully there's a good connection and you guys can hear me and see me clearly. But what I wanted to do in this video, just quickly, was kind of update you guys about, if you're not aware, this next week in Las Vegas is arguably the largest tech show or conference or exhibition, whatever you want to call it. Okay, are we live now? Gosh, here we are having internet connection problems again. This is why I hate doing live videos. And this is with an iPad Pro, like the latest gen, so hopefully we're not going to continue to have these issues. If we continue to have these issues on this video, check the channel out. I'll probably just kill this feed if we continue to have issues and then restart the live video closer to the router. But wanted to basically do a video about the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas 2019. I've gone the last 3 to 4 years, talk about what we can expect this year at CES, what we can not expect. Yeah, 480 in live in 480p. I see a comment here that's in 480p. Live, it should broadcast in low resolution, and then cross our fingers after the this video goes live. It should re-render on YouTube and be at least 720p, but it streams in 480p, unfortunately. Now, if there's some sort of connectivity issue, then it might actually save it as a 480p video, and for that I apologize, but I'm just trying to go ahead and have a live conversation with you guys here about CES. So, yeah, the Consumer Electronics Show, this is where we're going to see all of the big companies, Garmin, Fitbit, you know, all of those companies come out and in most cases showcase what we can expect them to release in 2019 or what their next, you know, release might be. Now, last year was kind of a down year. So I went to CES, went to Las Vegas. It was a really low-key year, and there wasn't very much. But that's typical in the tech world. There tends to be years where it's just everybody's kind of in a holding pattern, and then the following year everybody releases everything, and then the next year they don't release much, and then the next year they release everything. So I kind of expect this year maybe to be a little bit better than last year, because last year there wasn't a whole lot to cover. And so I just wanted to talk about this year, what we can kind of expect from Garmin, Fitbit, Polar, other and, you know, who's going to be kind of absent and not there, what we can expect from that. That being said, full disclosure, this year is going to be the first year in like 3 or 4 years that I don't go. The reason is because most of the announcements that take place at CES are actually announced before the doors even open. So a lot of these wearable companies like Fitbit and Garmin and others have been on Twitter and to all the media outlets early. Here's our commercials, here's our promotional material, here's what we're releasing. Come check it out on the floor at CES. You know, and so for me, it's been increasingly harder to justify the cost of, because I live in Ohio, of flying all the way to Las Vegas, spending thousands of dollars to do something that I could essentially do here at home. The only advantage that I would have in Las Vegas is I do get kind of that first hands-on experience. But, you know, am I willing to drop $2,000 or $3,000 for that? The return, you know, this year we're going to see this year about not doing that and just kind of doing these videos remotely. So I will still cover the announcements and show you guys, you know, little bits of the promotional material that comes out this next week, but I won't actually be at CES this year. So I hope you guys can forgive that. It's just, it's gotten hard for me to justify the cost of flying me and a cameraman out, who has been my brother, out to Las Vegas, putting us up in a hotel for the week, feeding us for a week, you know, all the costs that go with that travel. Anyways, let's just dive right in. Now that we're 5 minutes in, let's just dive right into what we're going to see here. The first one that's kind of interesting is BioStrap has hinted that they're going to announce a new product. Now, BioStrap released a product maybe 2.5 years ago, and it was one of the first ones that did kind of really leaned into heart rate variability technology, telling you, is your body rested? Not just what are you doing during exercise, like how many calories are you burning and stuff like that, but also telling you how is this exercise affecting your overall health. Are you recovering well from those exercises? And so BioStrap was one of the first companies that did it and did it well. There were other companies that attempted to do it and didn't do it well. BioStrap was one of the few that did it and did it well. And so I have a review on my YouTube channel. If you want to go check out, after this live stream, you can go check out the original BioStrap review that I have. I gave it a thumbs up. They've continued to support that product really, really well. And so I'm really excited to see what they do this week, what they announce. The rumor is that they're going to announce something. They're going to announce an improvement over their previous generation product. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do. So BioStrap is kind of the first one that I'm kind of keeping my eye on to see what they do. Now Fitbit has just this last year kind of given us the Ionic. They've given us the Fitbit Versa and the Fitbit Charge 3, which is on my wrist, which I'm in the process of reviewing right now. Now, Fitbit last year at CES 2018, they didn't even have a booth. They were there. They kind of had some people that were kind of walking around and trying to promote their business, but they didn't actually have a booth. They had like a little office tucked away someplace where if you wanted to go speak to a Fitbit rep, you could. But this year, it appears that they're going to actually have a booth. So the fact that Fitbit is actually going to have a booth there, is that an indicator that they're going to announce something new? Possibly. Or it could just be that they're just really trying to promote some of their existing products that are still great products. The Fitbit Versa, the Ionic, the Charge 3, all of these products are very competitive in terms of features. And so they don't, in my opinion, really need to announce anything in order for them to still be considered, a top player. But they could have a surprise up their sleeve. They could announce something here this next week. For me, it's kind of like, well, either way, with Fitbit, they've been steadily announcing stuff all along the way, all of this last year. They've released it. All of their products have performed really well. They've got their new Pure Pulse sensor on all of their existing wearables that are great. And so, we might see something from Fitbit, we might not, but in terms of what they did this last year, they're still a top contender and still kind of, one of the biggest players in the game right now. Now, Garmin, on the other hand, has been busy as well. They have announced a few big products. I've reviewed some of them this last year. The Fitbit, the Fitbit Vivo, the Garmin Vivoactive 3 and the Vivoactive Music, and the Garmin Instinct. All these products that everybody's announcing. So Garmin's had like three. Well, they've had the Fenix 5. Plus, I think is what they were. So Garmin's been busy as well this last year. I do anticipate Garmin to announce something somewhat big this year. You guys need to head over to Active JR's channel, or actually his website. So Active JR, he's got a great website that kind of has a lot of articles telling how he thinks that Garmin is going to announce a new Vivoactive. Is it going to be the Vivoactive 4? Is it going to be another variant of the Vivoactive 3? Because the Vivoactive 3 Music did have some distinct cosmetic differences over the Vivoactive 3. So the 3 and the 3 Music, there was a lot of similarities, of course, but it was a little bit different. So are they going to do that? Are they going to announce like a Vivoactive 3 Plus? Are they going to announce a Vivoactive 4? I don't know, but they seem to really be investing in the Vivoactive lineup. That seems to be a big seller. It kind of bridges that gap between the really expensive Garmin devices like that you would get from the Forerunner and Fenix series, and then some of the lower like Vivo Smart, Vivo Sport kind of where it seems to kind of bridge that gap. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see an additional variant of the Vivoactive 3, or just for them to come right on out and announce the Vivoactive 4. That's a big possibility, but Garmin is very likely going to announce something like that. My guess is that Active JR is correct, that it is going to be something along the lines of the Vivoactive series. So that's something that we can kind of expect, and I'm excited to see that as well. Healbe, Healbe. That's another company. Now, I've never reviewed any of their wearables, but Healbe has, I think, 2 generations worth of products. They're these big, bulky wearables that sit on your wrist that can somehow look into your blood and analyze, I think, glucose levels or sugars or carbohydrate or something. But they basically, their claim is that they can analyze how much caloric intake you're actually bringing in. This idea of like, hey, instead of, using a MyFitnessPal, app, you can actually just wear something that analyzes what's going on in your body and tells you how many calories you've consumed, which in theory is a really cool idea. The problem is once you've actually already consumed it, there's no going back from that. It's not like you can unconsume the calories that you've already eaten. But maybe they're going to refine that technology a little bit, make it so that it's a little bit faster, because in the past, people have complained that the Healbe tends to give you maybe arguably some somewhat accurate calorie counting, but that it does it over the course of like days. So it's looking more at big picture as opposed to, like here's what I did today and here's what I did yesterday and the day before that. It's looking at like, here's what you've consumed over the last few days or this last week. And that's not always helpful when you're trying to stay on track for a diet or for, calorie counting. So I, expect them to maybe try to now refine their technology a little bit, maybe give some users quicker feedback on how many calories they've consumed. I've been a little bit leery of the company and the technology in the past just because I don't think it's super helpful or necessarily incredibly accurate. And so, yeah, that's just one company. I'm hoping to see something good from them, see them kind of improve on their accuracy overall. So Healbe is another company that I'm kind of keeping my eye on. We can expect something from them. Suunto is going to be there. So Suunto is possibly going to announce something new. They're a smaller company, and so Suunto tends not to spend the money on a booth unless they're going to announce something, because these booths at CES cost incredible amounts of money. Even for a booth to have access to Wi-Fi and electric outlets and stuff like that, they have to pay extra for that. Suunto tends to have a smaller because they're not. And so for Suunto to have a booth at CES and spend the money to be at CES makes me think that they're probably going to announce something because they otherwise wouldn't spend all of that money and all of that time, doing a booth at CES. So that'll be interesting to see what Suunto has for us at this year's CES. So let's see here. Who else do I have? Withings on here. Now, Withings has been a company that hasn't really produced a ton, in my opinion, a ton of really compelling devices over the last few years. But they're going to be there as well. They're going to have a booth. I expect them to kind of announce something as well. And then let's talk about who's, according to my list, and I could be, this list could get refined here, and I could be off on it. Let's talk about who's not going to be at CES 2019, because a lot of times that tells us something, right? That they're not going to announce anything new here in the next at least 3 to 6 months. So according to the list that I have here, Polar, interestingly enough, is not going to have a booth at CES, or if they do, it's going to be greatly scaled down. And so that, in my mind, means that they're not going to probably announce any new products, which honestly makes sense because they just announced the new Polar Vantage watches, and so a lot of their resources are going to updating the firmware and really locking in that technology right now. They could have a small booth at CES where they're simply demoing their existing products, hoping that other vendors see the product and pick them up. because Polar is a household name and they do have a little bit more money to throw at an event like CES. But my guess is that they're going to have a small presence at CES, and we're not going to see Polar announce anything, especially on the heels of the new Polar Vantage series. I think that's my gut instinct on that one. Another one that's gone from CES this year, and in my opinion is probably gone from just the wearable community altogether, is Mio. Mio was there last year. They had a really tiny booth. They were basically just demoing existing products that they had over the previous year, products that didn't do well. Mio just has had a really rough last 2 to 3 years. And so Mio's not on the list this year for the first time in a long time. And they have been absent of making any wearables here this last year. So my guess is that Mio Global is just done. We're not going to see any more wearables from them, which is unfortunate because the Mio Alpha 2 and the Mio Fuse were some of the early first bands that I reviewed here on this channel, and they were fantastic. They had Valencell heart rate technology sensors, optical sensors built in. They were among the most accurate heart rate sensors on the market at the time that they were released. They was just a good product, and we're seeing Mio just completely absent this year. It makes sense again because the last couple years have been really poor. So Mio is probably done in terms of just them making any more products, unfortunately. Under Armour is another one who is probably out of the game in terms of wearables. Now, they will probably be there for other reasons, but probably not for wearables. So Under Armour a few years ago kind of had their whole ecosystem that they were announcing, like, hey, here's all the apps that we've bought up. We've bought up MyFitnessPal. We've got, all these other running apps, Under Armour Record app. So you can record, and then all of that integrates with this new wristband that we have, and this chest strap that we have, and a scale that they had. So they had this whole ecosystem that I think retailed originally for $400. You could buy a scale, a chest strap, and a band, and then all of these things would work together with their apps. It was a great idea, only it was super expensive, and honestly, their scale and their wearable wristband just kind of sucked. And so they didn't do well. They didn't sell well. They were heavily discounting all their stuff, and it still wasn't selling well. And so, in my opinion, Under Armour is more focused on, the clothing side of stuff, the fitness clothing, and also investing more into the apps and the software side of stuff, as opposed to making fitness wearable hardware like chest straps and scales and wearable bands. Now, I could be totally off on that, but that's my gut instinct. I think we're done seeing Under Armour do anything, at least for the short term here. Let's see. So that's kind of CES 2019 in a nutshell. Fitbit is kind of a toss-up. Garmin, I think, in my opinion, for sure is going to release something. They will announce something. My gut instinct is that it's going to be a Vivoactive watch, whether it's a variant of the 3 or a new Vivoactive 4. That's going to be Garmin. Suunto, I think, is going to announce something new. Polar is probably not going to announce anything new, especially on the heels of their Vantage watches. And then we're done seeing Mio and probably Under Armour there as well in terms of wearables. So that's all I've got for CES 2019. Again, I'll be covering it kind of remotely. This is the first year where I'm not going to go there because it's just an enormous cost to fly out there for just a little return. And I think I can just about as accurately cover it here and save up my money and maybe go back next year. We'll see how this year shakes up. So it's just a lot of money to fly out there, and I just wasn't convinced on the return. So let me know in the comments below some of your thoughts. I've been seeing some comments pop up here, maybe some questions or comments, and I haven't had a chance to respond to any of those. So I'll give you guys here about 30 seconds to ask some of those questions, and I'll try to answer them as they come up, pop up on my screen here real quick. And if there's no comments or anything, then, I've been talking for 20 minutes, so we can always disconnect and let you guys go. So I'll give you guys a second here to post some comments or questions that you might have had. Or maybe it'll just get really quiet and nobody will ask anything, and we'll be done. Garmin Fenix 6. That's a possibility because the Fenix 5 has been out for a while, the Fenix 5 Plus. So yeah, we could see the Garmin Fenix 6 get announced. It's a possibility. I tend to think Garmin has been a little bit slower moving the Fenix lineup because understandably people get a little bit upset when they buy a latest and greatest product and they pay $799 for a Garmin Fenix 5X, and then 6 months later you come out with a new one that's the same price, that's better. People tend to not want to buy, they're not motivated to buy that product if they know it's going to be dated immediately. So you know, I would see somebody's asking what my daily wearable is. I'll get to that one here in a second. But yeah, so the Garmin Fenix series, it's a possibility. They could definitely announce the Fenix 6. Also, Garmin just has been slow to move on the Fenix lineup, I think, just from a business standpoint. My daily wearable right now, and I'll caveat this on why it's my daily wearable, but my daily wearable has been the Apple Watch for a couple of reasons. One, I just like having a smartwatch on my wrist, something that I can easily see call and text notifications, something that I can easily, you know, control my thermostat. I have a smart thermostat. So I just like having that smart technology right on my wrist. But the other thing is that for what I tend to focus in on for my fitness goals tends to be strength training based. And so strength training based, this has the best heart rate sensor on it. So yeah, just there's other wearables out there that I think would be better for cardio. Garmin has a lot of really good, Garmin, Polar, Suunto, all of them have really good GPS chips that are better than the Apple Watch, in my opinion, for tracking distance-based cardio like jogging and cycling. But I tend to focus more on strength training. And so for me, the wearable sensor on this, the heart rate sensor, is better than what Garmin, Polar, and Suunto are doing for tracking gym-based exercise, if that makes sense. So for me, it's the Apple Watch, but for someone else who maybe is more cardio-focused, it would make sense for them to be focused in on a designated GPS watch. Someone was asking, boy, I got all these questions. Somebody was asking about ActoFit. And pardon my French, but ActoFit in the past has deservedly gotten the nickname of Acto Shit, and they deserved it. So I have reviewed the original ActoFit. It gave me all kinds of issues, and others on this channel bought it and had issues, and so I cannot recommend ActoFit, just based on their history. Right now, maybe they'll come out with something at CES and they'll announce it and it'll be awesome and it'll be great and it'll perform well. On the other hand, my experience has been a very mixed bag. I was having not just issues where it wasn't tracking, but just issues where the watch just plain wouldn't work. Like it just wouldn't work. And so then they would send me out a new product, and then I would try that one out, and I'd get maybe a little bit down the road, and then it would stop working, or there'd be some major firmware issues. And I'm like, are you guys sure you want me to do a review on this product? I mean, it's like still it's not even in beta. Like this is a problem. And they're like, no. They would get really argumentative, and they started arguing with people here on the channel. They were commenting below, and so I was super frustrated with my experience, not just working with the product itself, but just how defensive they got as a company. So I don't recommend ActoFit. They deservedly got the nickname Acto Shit. So now I'm probably going to get demonetized for cussing on my channel now. This is why I don't cuss or say anything controversial, because I don't want to be like every other channel that gets demonetized. But that's ActoFit for you. I'll see if there's bunches of comments popping up here. I'll wait till another one pops up. No other comments are popping up here. Okay. Garmin Wear OS. What question do you have about Garmin Wear OS? Let me know. Let me know what you think about Garmin Wear OS. I think I think Garmin, in terms of their Wear OS, it's not been a great experience. I like the idea of having an app market and everything. Asking also about the Galaxy Watch review. Will I do a Galaxy Watch review? Probably not. I'm really limited on the time and my access to Samsung devices. Can get a vendor that's going to work with me and send me their products. I'd be happy to review those products. But in the past, it's been really hard for my vendors to get access to those products, so I have to buy them out of pocket. And it gets just really expensive for me to start dropping $200-300 a month buying products, to review. It just gets really hard to do that. My channel doesn't make that much money, to be quite honest. Is it possible that Garmin is looking into Google's Wear OS? Do you think this is possible? That's a great question. I don't know if they are. I tend to think that Garmin has kind of a track record of trying to do their own thing. I wish they wouldn't. I wish that they would work with something like an Android OS or work with another third party to develop their operating system, because in the past their operating system has just been clunky. Like their apps, the apps on the Garmin App Store have just been truly awful. Like there's just not any real big developers that are developing stuff for Garmin. I mean, they tried to make it really big the last couple of years of like, oh, we got Uber. And it's like, okay, so you got one big developer that developed an app, and then I downloaded it for my Fenix 5 and tried to use it, and I'm like, this sucks. I would never hail an Uber through the app on my Fenix 5. Like, I'm just going to pull out my phone and do that. So much easier, and I'm not fumbling with buttons, and there's no touch screen, and it's just really hard. So Garmin definitely, if they want to focus on an operating system that's as beautiful or as intuitive as something like what Fitbit is doing, because the Fitbit operating systems have been really fluid, very smart watch kind of feel. If Garmin is trying to go that direction, and I think they should, they have to totally redo what they've been doing, because it's been a nightmare and a mess up to this point. So that's kind of my opinions on some of that. I'll wait till some other questions pop up here. But yeah, back to the Samsung watches. I'll talk while some more comments pop up. But the Samsung watches, I love Samsung products. I've reviewed them in the past. I think that they're great. They're a great option for those of you who have Android and want kind of that smartwatch experience and a capable fitness tracker. I really do feel like Samsung has some compelling products that are out there. They tend to be a little bit pricey for what you're getting in comparison to like some of the other smartwatches that are out there. Like the TicWatch series has been pretty cheap and offering a similar Samsung experience. Let's see here. Boy, I got a bunch more coming up. Someone's pulse band. I missed that. Sorry about the pulse band. I have the M600. Agreed on the Garmin. Okay, cool. Yeah. So Samsung products. Yeah, I think they're great. I think they're a little bit overpriced. I think they're accurate. I think they're good. They're especially good for if you're an Android user. I don't recommend Samsung products if you have an iPhone. So I have an iPhone, and there's always very limited functionality in terms of the smart features that you're getting on a Samsung watch anytime you're trying to use it with an iPhone. So I would recommend them just if you're an Android user. Someone asked about Garmin for strength training. Great question. I think that Garmin, in my opinion, is the king in terms of cardio training. There's just, and actually in GPS, anything, all things GPS. I mean, Garmin did originally start as really kind of a GPS company. That's where they've got their notoriety, was their GPS stuff was just so accurate. Then that translated well into cardio, steady state cardio stuff, because you could track very accurately your distance-based sports like jogging and cycling. So they have the best mapping. They have some of the best GPS chipsets. Now, does that translate to gym wear? Yes, if you're willing to wear a chest strap or an armband that can send that heart rate data to the watch. I think their algorithms are on point. I just don't think that the Garmin Elevate sensor is up for the task, similar to what we're seeing from the new Fitbit Pulse sensor or from the Apple Watch sensor. The Elevate sensor that's on all of the Garmin devices now It's several years old. They've been using the same optical heart rate sensor now for several years, and it's truly time for Garmin to update that and make it more accurate. But are they good for gym use? Like, yeah, they are, as long as you're willing to use a third-party accessory to capture your heart rate. So for someone out there that does a lot of steady state, or a mixed bag at least, of steady state cardio, and they do some gym stuff, yeah, get a Garmin. It's a great option for you. You just know that you're going to have to, if you want accurate heart rate tracking for your gym exercise, you're going to have to go with an accessory for your heart rate. And so somebody's commenting here, Rodney's talking about how it's a non-starter for me. So yeah, that's a deal breaker for some people. That's a deal breaker. And so yeah, then buy something else. Do you recommend waiting a while before purchasing a wearable? And then there's something about an Apple. No, so my opinion is, maybe wait a month or two. So, like, if I was just someone that was like you guys hopping on YouTube to see, you know, like, ooh, should I buy this product or not? I would wait till the reviews come out. Usually the reviews come out pretty quickly after something is released. You know, in a matter of a couple of weeks, you'll start to see some reviews pop up on YouTube. Wait a couple of weeks, see how the reviews are. If in general people are giving it, you know, a thumbs up, like, yeah, it's a good product, go out and buy it. Be an early adopter, right? Buy the product when it's still at the top of the line, when it's still, you know, the best. And then you're going to get a long use out of it, as opposed to buying something where it's kind of at the end of its shelf life, and you buy it at a heavy discount, but then you buy it and like 6 months or a year go by, and then you're like, gosh, this product isn't, you know, it's not on par with current generation technology. So I would much rather spend a little bit more money buying a product on the front end and then getting a much longer time where I get to use that product, as opposed to buying it maybe on a discount, but then it's kind of an irrelevant product pretty quickly. And in terms of timeline here, I'm you know, a product becomes irrelevant pretty quickly, unfortunately, right? I mean, if you're buying something, maybe 2 years before you're like, okay, the features on this are pretty antiquated, you know, there's much better options out there on the market. So 2 years really. And so if you're buying something at the beginning of its, you know, when it's first hitting the shelves, you got a couple years before you're going to start really thinking maybe about buying something new. If you're buying something near the end of its shelf life, halfway through, or, you know, 3/4 of the way through, you're only going to have 6 months, a year maybe, before you're feeling like you need to upgrade. Do I think Garmin's pinching pennies? No. I don't think they're pinching pennies. If anything, I almost think that they're reckless. I think that Fitbit has been a little bit more conservative about the number of products that they're selling. Garmin just seems to be like feverish. I mean, we're talking like every year I feel like Garmin announces like 6 or 7 new wearables. I can't cover them all. They announce so many. It's like this last year they announced not 1, but 2 Vivoactive 3s. They announced the Vivoactive 3 and then the Vivoactive 3 Music. And then it's like, even for the Fenix lineup, they announced a lot. It was the Fenix 5X, you know, like, oh, we've got the new Fenix 5 and the 5X. And then, oh, gosh, and then here comes the Fenix 5, you know, X Plus or whatever, you know, and it's got like all these. So it's like Garmin has been really feverish about announcing and releasing new technology, new wearables. And I almost feel that it's too aggressive, like that they can't keep that pace up forever. There's just no way that they can have that many people that they're paying for research and development and just keep pushing out these products at this rate without it costing them something. I think they're a little bit reckless. Someone's asking about maybe Apple. Apple just tends to not show up at CES. They just, well, in terms of wearables, like they're just not going to have a booth, an Apple booth, because Apple can. They're just big enough where Apple's like, screw it, we're not going to show up. We're not going to sell the Apple Watch. We're not going to go spend $1 million or $2 million or $5 million or whatever to have a booth at CES showing off our Apple Watch Series 4. They can just get away with it. They just do. So Apple will probably be there. They'll have like a booth, but it won't be specifically just at the fitness and wearable area. They'll have like their own little booth. It'll just look like an Apple store, basically, where you can look at all their existing products. But Apple tends to not. They do their own exhibitions, their own announcements. Apple doesn't ever At least in recent history. They don't ever announce something at CES 2019. Apple doesn't do it that way. Is Apple's heart rate sensor more accurate than the Garmin and other devices? Yes. Now, like on an anecdotal level, I've experienced that. I can vouch for the Apple Watch Series 4 sensor and just tell you it's more accurate than the other sensors out there, just on an anecdotal level. Now, if you want to go into a guy who actually does all the data and research and shows you all the data points, go check out DC Rainmaker. And I have a screenshot somewhere of DC Rainmaker flat out saying the Apple Watch Series 4 has the most accurate optical heart rate sensor on the market. And he's got the data to show it. He can go show you, like, here's this sensor and how it's performed, and show you, like, you know, all of the graphs, all of the data points. So yes, the Apple Watch Series 4, as much as it pains me to say it, has a more accurate heart rate sensor than Garmin and Fit. Prefer to have kind of a consolidated experience where I have a watch that has a ridiculously good GPS sensor and a ridiculously good heart rate sensor, all in one device. And instead, you're kind of forced to pick, like, okay, do I want a really good built-in heart rate sensor for gym use, or do I do mostly cardio use? And so I'm willing to compromise on the sensor to get, you know, better GPS stuff. That's kind of what you're left with right now. And I would love to see Garmin develop something that's as accurate as the Apple Watch sensor. If they did, I would completely abandon my Apple Watch and immediately go back to wearing just a Garmin device every day as my daily wearable, as long as it was able to give me the full experience that I was looking for. So, yeah. That's what I have to say about the Apple Watch sensor. So it is more accurate. Anecdotally, on my experience has been that it is more accurate. If you want the data, go check out DC Rainmaker's website and just start searching, and he'll show you the data. Cool. We are almost at 40 minutes. This is the longest live stream I've ever done, but I've just had good engagement. I think there's about 40 of you still watching, so I hate to cut you guys off when you're asking more questions, but I might go here because I haven't had lunch yet, so I'm pretty hungry. Someone's asking, you got fans, Techie? Yeah, I guess I got some fans. I'm not used to having these many. I'm having all these comments popping up, and I'm not used to having that. Somebody's asking about Gymatic app on the Apple Watch. So I have the Gymtastic app that I've talked about. To be quite honest with you, I haven't reviewed. I have a video up talking about my favorite apps for strength training in the gym on the Apple Watch, and a lot of people have commented about others that they use. For me, I tend to not like a lot of the apps that automatically track your exercise, like, oh, here's how many reps you've done, because scratch pad or something where I write down like all of my data, and they just tend to not be accurate, and then you have to go back in your career a bit clunky. So I tend to stay away from the apps that automatically track like how many reps you're doing and all of that stuff. The apps that I think could be helpful for people are the apps that have built-in exercise plans and examples of how to do those exercises. So there are some apps out there for the Apple Watch that will have like a little cartoon graphic on your wrist that you can watch, and you can see like, okay, so this is what the bench press looks like. And then it'll have a description saying, you know, here's how it should feel mechanically, and here's how it should go mechanically for you. And here's how many you should attempt to do, and they kind of give you a workout plan. So there's apps out there for the Apple Watch that kind of give you like. I still don't think that anybody out there, including Garmin or Apple or anybody for that matter, has really developed a technology that I can kind of put my stamp of approval on that says, yes, this automatically tracks your exercise in the gym. It can detect which kind of exercise you're doing and your reps, and then you can input your weight, and it's just a seamless, wonderful experience. Just haven't gotten that yet. I just, you know, if you guys come across it, let me know, because I've been waiting for a long time. The new Amazfit Verge. Great question about that. I haven't had a chance to get it yet. I think that there is now finally the international. I haven't seen it being sold here in the US yet, so I'm probably going to have to start shopping for it on a Chinese website or something, those are always a little bit dicey. Like, okay, is it going to show up? Is it going to be stolen in transit or broken? Is it actually going to be the international version? You know, you never know. But I had to purchase the Amazfit, gosh, now I'm drawing a blank, Stratos. The Amazfit Stratos that way. I had to buy it from a Chinese website, but it showed up and it worked and it was great. It was the international version. I'm probably going to have to do that with the Verge. Now, as many have commented, the Amazfit Verge is probably not going to be as sports oriented as the Stratos. So it's got it appears that what they're trying to do is compromise on the battery life and on the sports side of stuff, and really focus more on making a smartwatch, and then trying as best as they can to bring over some of the exercise tracking and stuff from the Stratos to the Verge. And I think they're going to make too many compromises, and so I think it's going to be a good smartwatch experience, an okay health fitness tracker, but I don't think it's going to be quite as focused on GPS and sports and health fitness tracking as the Stratos was. The Stratos, in my opinion, is still a great alternative to the Fenix series. If you don't care about some of the more advanced features that come on the latest Fenix 5 watches, like the mobile payments and stuff like that, then the Amazfit Stratos is great. Can I do a review of the health watch? I'll take a look at it. I'll take a look at the health watch. Again, a lot of it comes down to my vendor. If my vendor has, or vendors, plural, I have a couple of vendors that I work with. If they have the product and are willing to send it to me to review, then I'm happy to. So the way that works is vendors will oftentimes send me products to review. I have to send it back so that they can resell that product as a refurbished unit. So they take a little bit of a hit, but then they hope to stir up business, for the product. And so that's how that works. I don't get to keep those products. I usually get them on review for like a month or two, and then I have to send those products back. A lot of times those vendors don't have access to every company, and so if they don't, then I have to do without, or I have to go buy it myself, and that can get really expensive when you're buying 1 or 2 new wearables every month, because my channel just doesn't make that much money. I don't think I've seen any recent comments or questions come up. So now we're approaching 45 minutes. I feel like this has been a successful live stream because I've still got, about 50 people hanging with me here. So I appreciate your time. So looking forward to CES 2019. That was the original topic here, and then I got sidetracked with all these questions. But CES 2019 this week. So I'll be covering those videos and announcements as they come out. And hopefully it's a better year than it was last year, where we didn't have very much going on. So Josh said, have a good day. Yes, have a good day to you as well, Josh. And to the rest of you, thanks for watching. My name is Eric, and I'm the Techie Agent, and we'll catch you next time.